Turn me up just a little bit. Yeah, it's that man space vibe. Step in the zone, microphone check. Russ and Les got the real intellect. Talk smooth like jazz on a late night set. With a convo deep and the topics connect. From the struggles to the wins, they address it with grace. Drop lines so cool, you can feel the bass. Two kings of the craft, and you know the rest. Kick back, poetry, welcome to the space. You go chillin' with Russ and Les. You go chillin' with Russ and Les. You go chillin' with Russ and Les. Hang out, cause now you vibing with nothing but the best. Space forever.
Welcome into another edition of the Man Space Podcast. Now, this is the voice of Russ, and with me, as always, he's not here. Last I heard, he was on baby duty. So, with that said, we're going to continue on and rock on anyway, because I am joined by a special guest. Man Space Nation, my guest today, man, he is a comic, an author, a mental health advocate who's turning his darkest chapters into laughter and into a lifeline for other people. His name is Dave Mowry, and he's telling his story of living with severe mental illness one joke at a time. He also teaches people to learn stand-up comedy, and people who are dealing with mental illness to help them through humor in their darkest days. Not only that, this man, he is a best-selling author. His book, Healing with Humor, Mental Illness to Mental Health, one laugh, one joke, one inspiring story at a time. Man Space Nation, give it up for my guest. His name is Dave Mowry.
Hey, Russ.
Hey, Dave.
Hey,
how are
applause
you?
and everything. I'm good.
Yes, the bad kids were on time today. Let me cue them up one more time. Oh,
there you
like
go.
that.
I like it. It's just like being on stage. So Les isn't with us, right?
Les is not with us.
How old are his kids?
His kids are actually grown. He's on grandkid duty.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So he's got a handful over there. There's a lot of them.
A lot of them.
There's a lot of them. Yeah, I don't come around when they're around there.
Oh, don't you?
No.
Too much energy.
Too much
noise.
Way too much noise.
Yeah. My grandkids live with me. So,
okay. So you know the feeling that Les is going through right now.
I do. You know, most of the time it's good, but sometimes it's, got to get out, got to escape for sure.
Can you give him a tip or something to be able to handle having the grandkids there?
Yeah, what's something that's really helped me, worked for me, is the rule of 3.
Okay.
So if they say something like, can I have a drink of water? 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 After the third one, if they say it again, that's the rule of 3. So they got to stop at 3 because after 3, it gets really, really irritating.
Really annoying.
No matter what it is. If they're doing something with their brother or making noise or moving a chair or whatever it is, I taught them rule of 3, and all I have to do is say rule of 3 and they stop. So anyway, share that with Les. Maybe that's a good rule for everybody. Just rule of 3.
Yeah, rule of 3.
Yeah,
that's it. That is good. Hey, Man Space Nation, write that one down. The rule of 3. After 3 times, you got to stop.
Yeah, and that's a rule in comedy too. When you're telling a joke, if you get a punchline, you can do a punchline, and then you can do a second, and then a third, and but after 3, it's just dead, done. Never more than 3. One's
Never more than
great,
30.
two's okay,
Yeah.
three's fine, but anything more than that, and it's just dead, dead.
Gotcha. So, Dave, if you could, man, just share with the Man Space Nation a little bit about Dave Mowry. Who is Dave Mowry? What makes this man tick?
Well, like you said, right now I'm a stand-up comic. I teach stand-up comedy to folks with a mental illness. I write. I got a couple books. Got a great wife. Fun house with my daughter and the grandkids living with us. So,
Yeah.
and I still work. I work I'm an executive director at National Alliance on Mental Illness, the affiliate here in
Okay.
town. So I work with folks with a mental health challenge.
Yeah.
But that's now. In 19, I was a successful businessman. I owned my own businesses. Things were good. My wife and things were good financially. Everything was good. I remember sitting on a deck. We were on vacation, sitting on a deck overlooking a lake, and thinking to myself, and maybe I said it out loud, we made it. And it felt great. We made it. And less than a year later, due to my bipolar disorder and severe anxiety, I was working in the business. I was extremely stressed. Sorry about that. Extremely stressed, and things were, my mind was racing. Things were really bad. And I had a mental breakdown. My mind just snapped. I could feel it. It was like an electric shock, and then it was everything I could do to get home, just to get into bed, and just to be. We ended up losing the businesses, having to sell, fire sale. We were homeless for 18 months. I couldn't interact socially or work for 14 years. And that was, and then the slow recovery.
Man. Now, was that the first time that you had to battle bipolar, or had you been diagnosed previous?
I hadn't been diagnosed previously, but I'd had my ups and downs and stress. I had another business before that took a lot out of me, and I struggled. I struggled with my mental health. I just didn't know what was going on. I had no idea,
Right.
So I'd had my ups and downs before, but I hadn't been diagnosed, and that's not uncommon. It takes years and years and years to get diagnosed correctly with bipolar. You see a doctor or you see a psychiatrist or whatever, and you see them when you're down and depressed. I mean, when you're down and depressed, something's wrong. And the doctor, psychiatrist, they can see the depression, and so diagnose and treat that. But with the mania, you feel good. You feel great.
Yeah.
You feel like the smart
Wow.
room. You feel like you feel great. So you think everything's great, and you don't think there's an issue until you go over the top.
Yeah.
That's what happened with me. I had started with the mania, feels good. Then it goes on, and you just, risk taking, just lots of things. You go over the top, and then you snap, and coming down the other side into the depression.
Yeah.
It's, frankly, it's awful. I wouldn't wish it on anybody.
So, if you don't mind me asking, like, how are you being able to manage that today?
I take medication, and which helps. I still have my ups and downs, but the highs aren't so high, the lows aren't so low. And when I go into a little bit of a depression or the down cycle, I know it's short-lived. So it's I know it's not going to last, and that helps a lot because I don't think, oh my God, I'm sinking, and I'm not going to be able to get out of this. But yeah, the medication is a lifesaver. It's, thank goodness for modern medicine and the new meds. It helps with helps keep me stable. And I, the severe anxiety that I had was in some ways worse than the bipolar, because the bipolar, I'd have my ups and downs, but I'd have some stable time in between.
Yeah.
But the anxiety was constant. It was always there, and it was anxiety, panic attacks.
Yeah.
So yeah, but yeah, medication. I make sure I get enough sleep. I take care of myself.
Yeah.
And when I see myself taking on too much, I recognize it now, whereas before I didn't.
Yeah.
And I just take on way too much.
Understood. I mean, also having the support of your family, I'm sure that also helps the situation. Having a supportive wife, and even mentioning that your daughter and your grandkids are there, I'm sure that helps a lot of it as well too. Being able to manage the situation.
Yeah, I've got to tell you, my wife's the hero of my story. Anybody else, not anybody else, but many other people would have left me when crashed.
Of course.
We went broke and lost everything and we're homeless. And she stayed with me and held the family together, and advocated for me, and was understanding. And so, yeah, that was huge. If not for her, I think I would be in a single room occupancy apartment in Old Town. I live in Portland, so Old Town Portland, and I'd be the guy that's out sitting on the sidewalk, leaning up against the wall with the vacant look in their eyes. That was me. I was truly broken. I was truly broken.
So let's just talk about you dealing with this and then going into stand-up comedy. Like, what was the transition that said, "Hey, I'm going to turn this pain into laughter"?
I know it's almost unbelievable. I mean, it's just incomprehensible in a sense. And I had obviously no idea. When I was in the psychiatric unit, I was in the hospital for my mental health, my breakdown. And when I was in the hospital, I relaxed. Some of the stress lifted because nobody could come see me. When I was home, if there was a knock on the door, I'd have a panic attack and I'd go hide in the bathroom. Or if a phone rang, I would cover my ear. I couldn't hear it. Just any of those things just put me over the top with the stress, the anxiety. But when I was in the psych unit, that lifted, because there wasn't a phone, there wasn't a knock at the door. I could have some quiet. And so when I was in there, I came up with a joke. So my psych unit joke is, you're going to have to help me with this. It's, do you know why they keep the doors locked to the psychiatric unit?
No, I don't.
There's so many people trying to get in. I know.
Okay.
I know. So I came up with that joke, and then, it was 2010 or 2011. The NAMI affiliate in my county and the county behavioral health, they brought in a stand-up comic, David Grenier, with Stand Up for Mental Health. And he also teaches stand-up comedy to folks with a mental illness. And they brought him into town. He did a little performance, which I saw. And I went and I thought, I'm as funny as he is. I only had one joke, But I thought my joke's as good as his best one.
Yeah.
So I thought, I don't know. So they had the class, and I signed up for the class. And it turns out I had a neck. They say the more challenges you have in life, the more material you have for humor, comedy, and I had lots of material. And I was able to identify the places. Once I started looking for the humor in my challenges, I was able to find it. And I had the ability to write the jokes and to come up with laugh out loud funny punchlines. And I ended up helping other people in the class write their jokes too. And I just had it just, it just kind of came naturally to me. And
Yeah.
I'd never had any thought of that ever in my life anytime before that.
Yeah. So let's fast forward just a little bit, because you mentioned dealing with anxiety, and I've had my own anxiety battles and things like that, and I've talked about that over the years on this show. But just walk me through that first time you actually walked out on stage. Like, how did you get your mind mentally prepared to go out there and actually get on stage?
It's if I was to get up in front of people and talk about anything, I'd have a panic attack. I'd start to sweat, and my voice would go monotone, and it was everything I could do not to turn around and run.
Yeah.
But when I was being completely open and honest about my mental health, I was calm. And I don't know why or how, what the science, if there is science about that, but I was calm and I could do that, and I didn't have the panic attack. So, throughout the class, I wrote jokes, and I liked my jokes. I thought they were funny. I really enjoyed them. And I had, one of the reasons, I don't know if the reasons, maybe one of the reasons that my wife and I get along so well is because she laughs at my jokes. So, so I know it's great. So I'd been able to, tell the jokes and get feedback, or other people laugh at them. So it wasn't silent when I saw it. So getting up on stage, I wasn't nervous. I didn't have that anxiety. I guess there was a little bit of tension, but very, very little. So it just came up. It was okay. And I've never, since then, I've really never been nervous getting up on stage to do comedy. If I get up on stage to give a speech, or if I'm in front of people, and if I'm just standing there with another group of people or whatever,
Yeah.
I'll start to sweat. The anxiety will build, and then it will overflow. And I was in a room at a conference, and there was about 30 people in the room, and I don't remember what it was about, but the moderator said, "Okay, we're going to go around the room, and everybody introduce yourself and say why you're here."
Mhm.
And as it went around the room, and as it got closer to me, I started sweating more and more and more, and I couldn't breathe, and my vision was blurry. And by the time it got to me, my collar was soaked, my armpits were soaked, the back was soaked. Everybody else stood up and said, "Hi, I'm here because," I couldn't stand up. I just said my name, and that was it. And the person in front of me turned around and looked at me and saw me, and then they obviously said, "What's wrong?" And thought I was having a heart attack, which a heart attack would have been a blessing at that point.
Oh my.
I mean, that's how bad it was. Yeah.
I've been in similar environments,
Have you?
and I started to feel those, and I would pull the Irish goodbye,
Yeah,
where you just
yeah.
kind of just like not
Yeah.
even wave, not even notify anybody, just kind of like
Yeah.
ease on out the door.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I sit now, if there's anything, group or whatever, I sit as close to the door as I can,
Mm-hmm.
so I can just stand up and slip out,
Yeah.
because it's still, and it's interesting, the closer they got, the worse it got. I shouldn't have sat there. After went around the room and it went back to the moderator, I did get up and leave and went to the bathroom and sat in a stall and just tried to breathe. Just tried. But I mean, the anxiety is it's awful. I've got some great anxiety jokes from all the misery that I've been through. You want to hear an anxiety? You want to hear an anxiety joke?
Yeah, let's go for it.
Okay. When and all my all my jokes, except for one, are based in truth. They're based on, I tell my story one joke at a time. So it is me and it is my story and it's based in truth. And then, of course, the punchline is the fun part. But when I was at an event or anything and I had to use a men's restroom and there were other people in there, I'd go in and I couldn't go. I just couldn't go. I thought everybody was looking at me and I'd start to sweat and I couldn't go. And so I'd pretend that and then I'd leave the restroom and I'd wait outside until there was nobody in it, sometimes for 5 minutes, sometimes for half an hour, it depends, before I could go in and, I could use the restroom. And then last week, my wife Heather and I went to a movie, and afterwards, I had to go to the restroom. I went in the restroom. There were other people in there, and I went up to the urinal, and I went, and I realized at that moment how far I'd come. So I stepped back from the urinal, and I went, yes, yes, yes. And everybody in the bathroom looked at me like I was crazy. I said, no, not anymore.
Not anymore.
Not anymore. Not anymore. So, yeah.
So
yeah.
Everybody has, I guess, in their fields, they have somebody that they look up to. Who are some of your inspirations in comedy?
I think, I don't know if you've heard of Stephen Wright, but he's a comic, and pretty much all he does is one-liners, but they're just observations that are just unique and extremely intelligent and just extremely funny and creative. So I really like him. I really like him for the intelligence and creativity and it's funny. So I laugh. And then current, I like Ricky Gervais. He's got some good stuff. And I think those would be the two, like, right at this point. All my comedy's clean. And I like clean comedy. Too many times a comic will throw in an F-bomb or something, and it's just there.
It's not necessary.
Not necessary. And in comedy, it's an art. And what Jerry Seinfeld has a story about taking 3 hours. He was working on a joke, and he took 3 hours to get the joke down from 9 words to 8. So the fewer words in a joke, you just want fewer, no extra. You just want it. That's comedy. So if you get an extra word in there, if you throw in something, an F-bomb or something that's really out of place, then for me, it takes away from the joke. It's a distraction. It's a distraction.
I've always felt that, when you use like cursing or things like that, it's basically taking the easy way out.
Yes.
Whether it's comedy, music, whatever, it's the easy way. I think it's comedians and musicians are much more skilled, much more crafted if they can be funny and still be clean at the same time.
You bet. 100%. 100%.
So for you, like, what are some of the big stages that you've been able to be on, and what's the stage that you would want to be on that you haven't done yet?
I guess a Netflix special would be great, but I'm just a little guy in the comedy field, and most people, there's a lot of comedians out there. Most people aren't household names and whatnot. I've done New York, I've done LA, I've done big conferences, sold out Helium Comedy Club, 285 people, sold out in the Helium Comedy Club. So those are, I think the stage that I would like to be on, is the one where there are people in the audience with mental health challenges. and or family
Hmm.
members of folks,
Right.
because when there's people, when they're in the audience and they hear me tell my story one joke at a time, and it's what it's really like to live with a mental illness, what it's really like to have anxiety, what it's, like suicidal ideation and, proximity to suicide and taking your life. They come up after the show, and it's huge for them. They realize they're not alone. When they're able to laugh at some of these things that they're dealing with, in their lives, they're able to laugh, and it's cleansing. It's healing in a sense. Laughter is cleansing, and one of the most popular jokes I have is a suicide joke. It's a gentle suicide joke, and it's my wife's favorite joke, and it's really the most popular joke. So you wouldn't think a suicide joke would be the most popular joke, but it's a gentle suicide joke. But and when I was in my dark days, I had suicidal ideation. I went out to a park. It's about 10 miles from our house, and there's a river, and I sat on a park bench with a gun and had my contemplation and whatnot. And I didn't follow through. And I'm not quite sure why, but I didn't. So I've had that. But anyway, my gentle suicide joke. So everything's based in reality, right? I mean, that's what I guess getting to the point, because I don't make fun of something that I haven't experienced. But when things were really bad, one of my darkest days, when things were really bad, I decided to end it all. So I went up into the bathroom and I took a bunch of pills. Afterwards, I called my wife for help. She said there are more pills under the sink. Isn't that great? Thanks for the applause. So people that in a show with people with a mental health challenge that are in there, and I'd say most people, at least with serious depression, clinical depression or serious mental health challenge, have suicide ideation. It's just part of it. And you don't have to be, there to have suicide ideation, but it's just part of it. So when they hear that, and they can laugh about it, and it's funny, it takes the edge off. And I work with folks with a mental illness. So I had a guy who his family brought him in, and he was morose. I mean, he was down. They said he's suicidal. We're afraid to lose him anytime. And brought him in, and his parents and he and I sat in the room, talked for a little bit, and then I asked them to leave, and it's just him and me. And we were talking, and he was in bad shape. And then at a certain point, I was able to, I told him that joke, and he just busted out laughing. He just, and it changed everything. His demeanor, everything changed.
Yeah.
And then we talked about, everything about it. And then we went out into the other room afterwards, and he was bouncing around, and he was happy. He was talking to his parents.
Yeah.
What happened. And I made him promise to come back the next day and the next and the next, and got through his suicidal phase. But yeah, it's extremely healing to be able to find the humor in the darkness.
What made you want to start teaching comedy to others?
It was interesting when I was doing the class. I was just able to find the humor and write good jokes, and so I wrote my jokes, but I wrote jokes for a lot of the other folks in the class too, or helped them write jokes, and so when the class ended, they wanted to keep going. They wanted to keep the class going. And of course, David Grenier was Center for Mental Health. He was done, so he went back home. But so I facilitated the class. The group. We kept going, and I led it. And then from there, I just started teaching. People asked me to teach the class, and I did. And the reason I did and continue is because before comedy, I was sad, I was lost, I was broken, but finding the humor, looking for the humor in the darkness and finding humor in the darkness, it was really transformative for me. It
Yeah.
changed how I thought. Before that, I'd be driving down the road and I'd hear a song and it would trigger a trauma memory or whatever, and I'd have a PTSD attack and relive the trauma, and it was awful. But after the comedy class, when I heard that song and I started to have those thoughts of that
Mhm.
trauma, I'd say, where can I find the humor in that? And it changed everything and it was transformative for me. And so I saw the same transformation happening in other people that took the class. And so
Yeah.
that was, yeah. Plus it's like great therapy. You're in
Mhm.
there, you talk about your challenges, and then you start to find funny, and then people start to heal right there in front of you. I've got stories about people in the class and the
Yeah.
transformation that's happened, and it's truly amazing.
Have you had that moment where you just thought something was truly funny and like this is gonna kill? I know this is great, and it just absolutely bombed.
Once,
Mhm.
um, and it was just an inappropriate joke,
Mm.
and um, which I thought was extremely funny. Um, but there was complete and utter silence. And it didn't come from, I wasn't on stage when it happened, but I was in with a group of people, and it was like, that's when I wanted to, slide back into the corner and be invisible.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, I've done that, but having been doing it as long as I have now, I know what's funny and
Mhm.
I know what's not.
Yeah.
Um, and jokes just come to me. I've got jokes that I can't tell you because they're some cultural stuff and different things. I'd get canceled if I tell you, but they're just laugh out loud funny jokes, and I can enjoy them, and I can tell
Right,
that you select people,
right,
but
right.
they'd be misunderstood, I'm afraid,
Mhm.
even though I just, I'm dying to tell them because they're just really clever, really intelligent jokes, and really funny. But
We'll save those for off air. How's that?
yeah, I'll do that because
Yeah.
if I do that and it goes into the,
Mhm.
on YouTube or out there, and
Yeah.
who knows how somebody would take it, and yeah,
Yes, but
I'm the
speaking of
bad guy.
YouTube, do you use your social media to promote your comedy?
Um, Not really.
Mhm.
I'm up on YouTube, but I'm really a terrible promoter. I
Mm.
I'm not a good promoter. The most promotion I've got is my hat. OMG, that's
Okay.
me, which is the name of one of my books.
Okay.
Um, but no, I'll get on Facebook and some of the other places, and I'll post some jokes and do some different things, but
Right.
not really to promote. Not really to
Okay.
promote. I'm just,
Yeah.
when I get on social media, after like 20 minutes, it doesn't feel good. I don't know. I
Very
feel
true.
hollow or whatever. I
Yeah.
don't feel good. I feel like I'm wasting my time, or trying to say, "Hey, I'm great," when,
Yeah.
that's just not me.
So let's get into your book, Healing with Humor. So it tells five people's stories. And in chapter 6, it talks about Molly,
Mm.
who's a doctor who lost everything to bipolar disorder and now performs comedy as well.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about Molly.
Molly came, to the class. Her mom brought her, and
Hmm.
Molly was all Molly ever wanted to be, since she could remember, was to be a doctor. And she
Mm-hmm.
wanted to be a doctor and be a doctor in her hometown, small hometown, not far from here. And that's all she wanted to do, was practice medicine, be a doctor in her hometown. And so she went through school and college and med school and residency and got her MD. And, um, so she was there. And then she lost it all due to her bipolar disorder. She just couldn't practice medicine. She wasn't able to. She just couldn't do it. And so she lost everything that meant anything to her. She was totally lost when she came to the comedy class. And, but we started to find some humor in her story. And she started to find some humor in it. And we started to laugh about it. And then things started to change with Molly, and she was diligent about, I don't know if diligent, she'd write jokes in between classes, and she'd come with new jokes and a bunch of new jokes.
Yeah.
And she was just really into it, you know? So, and it came pretty naturally for her. And so, Molly's life transformed. One of her jokes was, my name's Molly D. McNabb, MD. But little did I know going through medical school that the MD was going to stand for manic depressive. So that was the first joke she came up with. And from there, she just started going. But today, Molly performs around town. She's a comic. She sees herself as a comic. That's her identity. I mean, she's embraced it. She's really liked around town. She performs just about every week, which is unusual for a comic. So yeah, Molly, but she's got a really compelling story. But I think in the book, what's nice about the book is, well, a couple things. It's an inspiring story. You hear about Molly, you read about Molly, and you're rooting for her, and you see what happens with the transformation in the comedy. But in the book, we include her jokes, so her jokes are there in the book, so you can read her joke, and you can laugh along with her, and you can see where the pain was and then where she found the humor. And the audiobook's going to come out in a couple of weeks. And what's really cool about the audiobook of Healing with Humor is we're able to have them live on stage performing.
Oh, that's so awesome.
Yeah. So you've got the narrator talking about Molly and whatnot, and then it gets to Molly performing on stage. Yeah. And you hear her tell her story and perform and tell her jokes, and you hear the audience laughing, and it's really cool. It's really cool.
Yeah. So of the 5 stories that are in this book, which one actually hit you the hardest and or even surprised you the most?
I think Lorraine. Lorraine was 70. She was frail. She had a walker, sometimes an oxygen tank. She'd been in the Oregon State Hospital, psychiatric hospital 6 times, committed 6 times. She was sexually assaulted as a young girl. But here she was, and she was in the comedy class. And she was there and just joining in and everything. And to see Lorraine, and then we get to the show, and Lorraine's one of the favorites when we do a group show, because here she is, she comes up on stage with her walker, and she's frail, and she gets up there, and the audience is like, okay, they're nervous for her. They want her to do well. They want, but they don't expect a lot. They're just, she made it on stage. She's doing this thing, and that's a victory. And so, we're going to support her. And then she starts telling her jokes, and they're laugh out loud funny at the audience. The audience loves it. And then, she gets done and closes out, and she gets a standing ovation. And so really, Lorraine, to see this a little old lady who, with a walker and with all these challenges and everything, go through this and then get up on stage and confidently tell her jokes And she's not great.
Yeah.
She's not a great comic. I mean, timing's not necessarily right all the time.
Right.
Sometimes she'll get a little flustered or whatever, but she's up there and she's doing it. And yeah, it's really cool. It's really cool.
Yeah.
Lorraine's story is really cool, and that's the one that surprised me the most.
Yeah. Now, you have a blog that's out there, bphope.com.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
blog has been read well over 1 million times.
Yeah.
And one of the most common comments that you get is, OMG, that's me. You're telling my story. I don't feel so alone now. What does it mean to you to kind of hear that over and over again?
It's rewarding. I know that I'm making a difference, with people, one blog post or one reader at a time. What I did, most blogs in the mental health field are like 3 steps to beating depression. What to do, what to do when you're not hungry and you're depressed, or, how to, 3 signs that you're going manic, or whatever it is. And so what I did in mine was I went back to my challenges and my dark days and wrote about my experiences as if they were happening. I went back to that time and I felt it and relived it and wrote about what it was like to truly live with the mental health challenge. What it was like to, I couldn't go to the mailbox in the daytime because if I saw a neighbor, it would just be too much for me. It's God forbid they spoke to me, So I went to the mailbox at night when I did go to the mailbox. I talked about suffering in silence, and hiding in the shadows. And I wrote about one of the lighter ones I wrote was, about being too depressed to shower. People with the mental illness, people with depression. It's just common, and for whatever reason, it's really, really, really hard to take a shower. I know with me, during my 14 last years, and when I was really depressed, I slept in my clothes. It was too much for me to take up my clothes at night. Yeah, I couldn't take up my clothes at night, and then put them back on in the morning. I slept in my clothes, and I went weeks, maybe months without showering times, just because it was just too much to get undressed and to turn on the water and to go get in the shower. And that's because it was taking all my energy just to be, just to breathe, just to hold it together, just to maintain. But it's common for people with depression we just, go for long periods without showering. And so I wrote a blog post called Too Depressed to Shower. And I made it funny in that we're being depressed and not being able to shower. We're good for the environment because we don't use water, so we're saving water, and we don't use soap, so we're not putting soap down the drain, and we don't
saving the environment.
We wear the same clothes day after day after day, so we don't have to do laundry. So we don't have water and detergent and all that kind of stuff. So, we're saving the environment. And so I wrote that blog post. Now, the response to that was really amazing. And what happens, when you're in the darkness, the depression especially, or the anxiety, you don't, you feel like you're all alone. And that, you feel like you're all alone. You see other people and they seem normal, and it's why, what's wrong with me? And you feel like you're all alone. So to read the blog post that I wrote and to realize you're not alone, that other people are going through these things, and, that was huge. And So yeah, and that's where my book OMG That's Me comes from. The comments, OMG That's Me, you're telling my story, I don't feel so alone now. So that's the name of my book. I took it's a compilation of the blog posts, the best blog posts, and comments, some of the comments, and it sold over 22,000 copies, which for
awesome.
for a self-published book, it's usually self-published, sell 50 copies to family and friends, and then it goes off into
of course, right?
So, but it sold 22,000 copies, and people buy it, and then they give it to their family so the family understands what it's truly like to live with a mental illness, or they give it to their therapist or the doctor and say, "This is me. This is what's happening." Therapists and doctors, they go to school and they read about it, and they read the signs and the symptoms and how to diagnose and all this kind of stuff, but they don't really know they don't really understand what's happening. And so people give the book to their doctor or their therapist, and so that the doctor or therapist can understand this is what's happening. This is how I feel. This is what's happening in my life. So that's why the book has been so successful.
That's so awesome. So Dave, how can people who want to learn more about your classes, want to read your books, or just reach out, how can they find you?
DaveMowry.com is where I'm at. They can contact me through that, and I write. Yeah, there it is. And I reply to everybody that reaches out. It's kind of what I do. People want to talk, want to communicate, have a question, whatever. That's what I do. And so the DaveMowry.com, and there's links to my books. The books are available on Amazon, and the audiobook for OMG right now is on Audible and Apple and all those. And the new Healing with Humor, the audiobook's going to be out. So DaveMowry.com. And if you're living with the challenge, or if you know somebody that is, if you got a family member or somebody, suggest the book. If you get the book, you can just leave it laying on the table, and eventually they'll pick it up and they'll look at it and read it. And, it's really a life changer.
Awesome. Well, Dave, before we let you go, I have one last thing, and we always like to call this the last word.
And now, the last word.
So, Dave, what about learning, teaching, performing stand-up comedy has changed your life the most?
I think being able to teach the comedy and relate to other people with serious mental illness and see the transformation that's happened in them.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing. I've been asked, I was asked on another podcast, what would I change? I had it all and then lost it all. And so, of course, I wish I wouldn't have gone through the breakdown and put my family through, 14 years of my life and 18 months of being homeless, all the things that went through. But then to be in a spot now where I've come out the other side and I can make a difference, helping other people, either just by telling my story or by helping them find the humor in their darkness, or just listening to their story, whatever it is. I wouldn't trade that. I wouldn't trade that. I don't know if I would have gone to heaven to hell before I went through and got into my breakdown and lost it all. But I think pretty comfortable if there's a heaven, I'm gonna end up there now.
That's awesome.
unless I get surprised. I'll tell St.
Right.
Peter a joke. Oh God, I've got St. Peter. I'll tell St. Peter a joke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Dave, it's been a pleasure meeting you, getting a chance to talk to you, and hearing your journey. You know, best wishes to you, and much continued success in your journey, and with your comedy, and even with your books and everything. And I hope that there's many more books and blog posts to come. But much success to you. This has really been very enjoyable. Last thing, I just give one closing word out to the Man Space Nation.
I think if you're going through a tough time, know that you're going to come out the other side. Too many times we think we get stuck. We think this is it. And it's how it's always going to be. And it's not how it's always going to be. No matter how dark, how bad it is, you are going to come out the other side. And just to know that, and to live the journey, have the journey. You're going to learn, you're going to grow, and you're going to come out the other side stronger. If you know somebody that has a mental health challenge, realize that it's not a moral failing, and that the other thing is, for your audience, most people with a mental health challenge, they're just regular folks. We're just regular folks. We're not dangerous. We're not scary. We're not this. We're not that. We're just regular folks. So, just know that.
Awesome. Dave, thank you so much again for spending time with us. And we definitely would love to talk with you again soon. So much respect and much love and much blessings.
Hey, thanks, Russ.
Appreciate you. Man Space Nation, we'll be back with our closeout. As we do each week, we like to close the show with just a little bit of inspiration. Here's a little simple reminder. You are allowed to relax. We live in a world that is constantly telling us to move faster, work harder, and do more. But sometimes the most productive thing we can do is stop, take a breath, put down the weight that we've been carrying, even if it's just for a moment. Relaxing doesn't mean you're lazy. It doesn't mean that you've given up. It means you understand that even the strongest people need time to recharge. A tired mind cannot think clearly, and a tired heart cannot give its best. So give yourself a permission to slow down, enjoy the quiet, and take a breath. Spend time with the people you love, and do something that just makes you smile, or simply because it just makes you happy. Remember, life is not a race to see who can accomplish the most things while resting the least. Life is something to experience, appreciate, and enjoy. You do not have to have everything figured out tonight. You do not have to solve the world's problems before you rest. Sometimes the best way to move forward is to pause and breathe and trust that tomorrow will bring another opportunity. So Man Space Nation, leave here today with less pressure and a little more peace. Rest when you need to rest, and breathe when things feel overwhelming. And most importantly, take care of yourself, not because it's a weakness, but it's part of being the best person you want to be. Until next time. Man Space Nation, always give yourself grace, always give yourself mercy, and always understand, hey, you do need to relax, because if you're not good for yourself, you're not good for anybody else. We want to thank our guest, Mr. Dave Mowry. And Man Space Nation, couple of little things you know, but we always have to remind you. You can always go to the manspacepodcast.com. Get the new book, Russ and Les Freshman Year. It is out. It is available on our website and on Amazon. And then you know what happens on Monday nights on WTMSTV.com. You can catch this episode and all the latest episodes every Monday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. And then on Thursdays on WTMSTV.com, it is Throwback Thursdays with back-to-back episodes of the Manspace Podcast, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Throwback Thursdays, back-to-back episodes of the Manspace Podcast. Now, we talked a lot today about mental health, and I do want to throw out this one little thing. There is the National Mental Health Hotline. You can go to mentalhealthhotline.org or dial the number 866-903-3787. If you have if you know somebody who's in a crisis, or if you're feeling that you just need to talk to somebody, dial the number and talk to somebody and talk your way through it. Manspace Nation, help is out there, and you just have to take that first step. So since Les is not here, Manspace Nation, I have to give his line. We are out of here.
No gimmicks, just game that my sure in sight. They shine like the city on a Friday night. Man talk, real talk, that's the way that you bless. Giving knowledge and some laughs in the same finesse. From life goals to the jokes that hit. They the tag team champs, yeah, legit with the wit. So pull up a chair, let the stress digest. From the beat drops, you know the rest. You go chillin' with Russ and Les.